Let's talk about PyScript today. Okay, I am trying to figure out how to use this. All my slides are in that link down there. If you type in that link, you can find all my slides. Before we get started, I want to introduce myself. My name is Sophia Young. I'm a data scientist and a developer advocate at Anaconda. My education background is in psychology, statistics, and computer science. I've been working at Anaconda for 4+ years, almost 5 years now. I am a big fan of Python open source ecosystem and PyData ecosystem, so I contributed and created several Python packages, and also I volunteer in various Python open source communities, including PyData and PyConsensus. I also have a data science and machine learning book club. It's on Discord. If you're interested, please join our book club. Okay, the agenda today. I'm going to talk about what is PyScript, how do we use PyScript, why do we use PyScript, what does it mean for us data scientists to use PyScript, and then I'm going to show you some demos. So, what is PyScript? Wouldn't it be cool to run Python in your browser? So this is what PyScript does. It allows you to run Python in your HTML without the help of JavaScript. So basically, you have your HTML tab right here. It's an HTML file, and then with the PyScript tab on your HTML file, you can write Python code like print. Now you can. I will show you a concrete example in a little bit. So PyScript was introduced last year at PyCon by our CEO, Peter Wan. So PyScript is a framework for creating rich Python apps in the browser. It interleaves Python in HTML, full access to DOM, can call and be called by JavaScript libraries. So if you want to use JavaScript libraries, you can import, for example, JS to use it in Python. Isn't that cool? And then all your app logic will be in one language. And it just lives in the browser. No web server needed. It's just HTML. Yeah. So not only does it execute your Python in your browser, it also brings the whole Python ecosystem into the browser because we like to use, for example, visualization. We have Matplotlib, Seamort, Hololith. Like for modeling, we have scikit-learn, right? We use all those Python packages with our Python. And using PyScript, you have access to all those tools you love. And and you can execute all those tools in the browser. And then you might wonder, is this just here to replace JavaScript? Because normally you use JavaScript to talk to your web browser, right? But no, PyScript is not a drop-in replacement with JavaScript. Instead, it works really well with JavaScript. Like I said, like I just mentioned earlier, that you can call Python objects or Python libraries in Python using PyScript. Okay, so here's a bit of a detail of how PyScript actually works. The underlying infrastructure of PyScript is actually WebAssembly, which was released in 2017, include a human-readable web text format language, and then converted to a binary WASM format that browsers can run. So basically, when you write Python code in PyScript, your Python code gets compiled and translated to this WASM format for your browser to run your code in the browser directly. And then to make that happen, the two magic things that make this translation happen, one is PyDI, which is one route. PyDI is a port of CPython to WebAssembly. Makes it possible to install and run Python packages in the browser with micropip. So when you use Python, you might use pip or conda to manage your environment, right? So PyDie has another version of pip. It has nothing to do with it, by the way, besides the name. It's called micropip. So you use micropip to install packages as you would do with your normal pip install. The other route is through MicroPython. MicroPython is lean and efficient implementation of a Python 3 programming language, and it only includes a small subset of the Python standard library. So it's really efficient and really fast. So when you use PyDie, it could be a little loading time to download certain packages. With MicroPython, because it's so small, so efficient, it's actually really fast. So there's some trade-off there. But developers at Anaconda is constantly working on improving the speed and loading time for both of those packages. So, okay, how do we use PyScript? Actually, the question is, how do you install PyScript, right? So if you want to use Anaconda, or if you want to use Python, you usually start by installing Anaconda. So if you want to use PyScript, do you need to install anything? The answer is no. You do not need to install anything. You just need to add 2 lines of code in your HTML. So here are the 2 lines of code. You refer to the PyScript.css file and the PyScript.JavaScript file, and then it just works. So here's a hello world example where you have those 2 lines of code, right, for you to access this PyScript tab. And then in the PyScript tab, you can write your Python code, hello world. And I save it on my desktop, hello.html, and then when you open it, it will just print out hello world. Another example, so a lot of times we do visualization, and we need to install packages sometimes. Here we install package, NumPy and Matplotlib. So to specify the needed packages, we just include everything in the PyConfig tab here that to list all the packages you need for this plotting thing. And then again, in the PyScript tab, you can include any of the Python code you would like. Here, I just copy and paste some Matplotlib code from their official website. I didn't write this code, by the way. But you can see when I open the HTML file, it will show up this Matplotlib plot directly. Pretty neat. Another thing I want to talk about is PyRepl. A lot of times we want to have a Jupyter Notebook-like interface. We want to be able to run a cell or like type in some code in the cell and evaluate the cell and run it. So this is exactly where PyRepl is. For example, we can do import this, and it will return some of Python. So that's PyRepl. Okay, so now let's talk about why do we use PyScript. What does it mean for us data scientists to use PyScript? First of all, there's no installation. It's not just easy installation, it's no installation. You do not need to install Python to use Python anymore, right? A lot of times when we first enter the world of data science, it might be a little intimidating to install all the packages, managing environment, whatever. With PyScript, you can just start coding right now. You don't need to install anything. No need to install Python. And as a result, it lowers the barrier of programming. So it doesn't matter if you come from whatever background, if you're only using R, or if you have never used Python before, you can get started coding quickly. And it brings programming for the 99%. And we see a lot of use cases where teenagers are starting to use PyScript to start coding in Python and coding games, which is pretty cool. Now, second of all, reproducibility is a big issue in data science, especially environment management, right? whenever we deploy models, we use Docker images, we use Kubernetes to manage all the dependencies and all the crazy stuff. With PyScript, you only need to define PyConfig and define all the packages you need to install. By the way, it's a best practice to ping the versions of the packages you want to install so that you can reproduce this no matter when, because packages can get updated and their dependency issues might become crazy. And also you can define the runtime. You can define which version of PyDI you're running in your backend, right? And then that way you have everything pinged down from your PyDI version to your package version. It is also super easy to share because it's just an HTML file you can share with people using email, Google Drive, Dropbox, whatever you want to do. Just send them the file and then they can reproduce the result and run the thing directly when they open up the HTML file. It's also super easy to deploy. And because it's an HTML file, you can host it on any kind of web page service. For example, if you want to host things on GitHub pages, right? It's super easy. There's another hosting option, which is PyScript.com, which was launched actually this year. Give you access control, give you sharing and other capabilities. I would highly recommend to check out PyScript.com, which is a different thing. So PyScript is an open source library that we're talking about. PyScript.com is a platform that can host your PyScript HTML files. So yeah, like what we said, it's easy to deploy dashboards and models, no server needed. You don't need any servers in your cloud providers. You don't need GCP, AWS anymore, right? Because web browser is just right there, available for everyone. Now data scientists get to focus on the code, not the infrastructure. We don't need to worry about Docker. We don't need to worry about Kubernetes anymore. Again, it works with JavaScript libraries really well. This is pretty amazing, at least to me, because when I want to use D3, right, I write JavaScript code. With PyScript, it allows you to access your JavaScript code directly in Python. Like writing in Python code, actually, this is import D3, and you can use D3 functionalities with your Python libraries. Just imagine if you use a scikit-learn and you want to plot in some scikit-learn output using DS. You can combine Python libraries with your JavaScript libraries super easily. Okay, enough talking. Let's show you some demos. Okay, so this one is where I have a Python record with, let me just show you the code first. The code is super easy, right? I imported a htplot.pandas, which this is one of my favorite visualization library from the Hololith ecosystem called htplot. Just imagine this similar to Matplotlib if you have not heard about this before. And I imported a data frame from Bokeh. It's a sample data from Bokeh, Bokeh is also another visualization library if you have not heard before. And in the REPL, I just have asking the Python to give me a scatter plot plotting our x and y based on this data frame. And the result is, let me just run it so you can see. It's loading runtime, right? It's going to take a minute because, So that step is actually installing all the needed packages on the browser directly. And then when we click on it, it can actually show the plot directly right here. Another example, this one is a little bit complicated, where we have a dashboard showing the relationship of miles per gallon and horsepower for a car data set, right? So You can select different manufacturers. You can change your y-axis. So this is an example of you can run a interactive data frame dashboard with HV Cloud Interactive, which is the method that we used with Panel as a backend to build this dashboard with a few lines of code. And this is also entirely running on PyScript. As you can see, it's loading runtime. It's installing all the packages right here in the browser as we're opening it. This one is downloading a lot more packages. That's why it's taking a few seconds. Right. So you see console, you can actually see what's going on right here. In the browser, it's actually installing, loading the runtime, loading PyDI, loading micropip, which is the environment management for PyDI. And you can see we're like downloading a lot of Python packages, pandas, NumPy, and all that good stuff. Right? As you can see, my code in the PyScript.tab tab is just a few lines of code to build that dashboard. Okay, I have another dashboard. Okay, I want to show you that one a little bit. So, how many of you know about Panel? Yay! So, Panel is a Python visualization dashboarding tool. Have you heard about Streamlit?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Panel is just like Streamlit. The thing about Panel is similar to Streamlit with very similar functionalities. The only thing different is that Streamlit only works when you have a standalone Python file. It doesn't really work in your Jupyter notebooks. Of course, there is an extension that lets you do that, but it's not working in the Jupyter notebooks natively. With Panel, you can run every cell in Jupyter notebooks. You can also run it in your standalone Python files. So it's more flexible and has a lot more capabilities. Like if you want to visualize big data, if you want to visualize streaming data, Panel can handle all of that capabilities. It's one of the tools in the HoloViz ecosystem. So for example, if you want to visualize big data, you will use Panel with Data Shader, which is a big data visualization tool that gives you super magic, runs big data super fast with NumPy in the backend, which means it will calculate different things with runtime, so it's fast. Okay, so enough of Panel. So if you have a Panel app already, you might have, just imagine if you have a Streamlit app already. This time it's a Panel app. You have a .py file or .ipynb file, right? You want to convert it to PyScript. So you only need to do one line of code in your command line. Panel convert app.py or panel convert app.ipynb, depending on what kind of app file you have. And then it will convert the app directly to PyScript. So you don't need to write all the PyScript in HTML anymore. You just write Python file and then convert it to HTML. So that's the gist of it. And then here's the code. Here is the dashboard where I converted everything to. Okay, so here's the code where I have a HV Plot interactive IPynb. You can see this is the dashboard that I made. Everything is in Jupyter Notebook that I'm not going to go through. So basically, with a few lines of code, you can make the dashboard, right? And when you do Panel convert, you can convert the dashboard into PyScript, and I can host it on my GitHub page. So this is actually a GitHub page. Yes, and now it just works. Yeah, so that's that. And the final thing I want to show you is the PyScript.com website. That is not my computer can show you. I would encourage you to sign up it's still in the beta phase, and it's completely free, where you can write a Python code directly, and it will convert to PyScript HTML file for you, so you can type in code in Python on PyScript.com directly, and share your app with the world. It will generate a link for you to share. Yeah, so I guess that's it, my talk. Any questions? Yes.
I have a two-part question. One, does this work with every browser? And secondly, do we need to switch on some developer settings in browser, or we can just use it as is?
It works for, I'm not sure if it works for any browser, but it works for Chrome, it works for Safari, Edge, all the popular ones. I can't say about other ones that I have not tried before. And it's not dev setting, it's just an HTML file. Just click it, it will run. Yeah. Yes.
Two questions. One is there any data size limitation to the data frame when we are doing PyScript? That's one. And other one is like when we have the Python code there, if there's any issue, errors, is the error which is thrown, is it for troubleshooting, is it intuitive? I mean, is it good, the errors which come up?
The error will come up in the console, like I showed you earlier.
Okay.
Yeah. Or if you print down the error somehow, or raise the error, to have it show up on the output directly in your app, that way it might be better. So you don't need to take a look at the console. The data size is a great question. Yes, there is a limitation right now because it's determined by your browser and your local environment. Because when you open up the HTML file, it's actually running everything in your browser using your computer. That makes sense. Yeah. With PyScript.com, I think they're working on making it better for larger data size.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So with normal browser, there's a limitation, but with PyScript, it might be better.
Yes, because on PyScript.com, you're not running locally on your own browser. We open it up, it's running on our server, AWS stuff. Yes. Yes.
I use Django a little bit for like Python web application. How is this different? Like I know this seems a lot simpler. Maybe can you talk a little bit about advantages and disadvantages of that with something like Django?
I'm not a Django expert, so I'm not trying to pretend I know everything, so I don't know. Sorry. Yeah.
What about dependencies of the import libraries? If we have one library that depends on something else, how does it solve it? Or is it just shooting an arrow?
Great question. Yes. So micropip will do the environment management, just like when you do pip install matplotlib. You're installing a lot of other packages needed, right? Not just matplotlib. So similar thing with micropip, it will install all the dependencies. However, there are some packages that's not available on PyODI yet. It's like, even though PyTorch is on PyODI, the PyTorch dependencies, some of them, a lot of them actually are not on PyODI. So we actually can use PyTorch right now with PyScript. But I think people are really actively looking into it. It's a community effort.
Thank you.
Sorry, I wasn't here.
No worries.
We'll give a couple minutes for people to switch rooms if you're staying, but